our main topic that we took up was the coronary artery disease, which is the global biggest and number one issue from the medical perspective. Our intention was to develop a system that would go into the imaging recognition algorithms to use them in order to find, locate the stenosis, and then to help the doctors and alleviate the diagnosis and then the therapy, which at the beginning sounded a little bit awkward or crazy or maybe ambitious. The presence within InnovX helped us to first of all get some contacts, get some recognition, get to the people, and that was, I think, the biggest value. Well, that's great. Congratulations to you and the team. I know you've been working hard to get here. Romania being also a country that is adopting some novelties and some systems in a more open way than, for instance, the economies in the West, believe it or not.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of the InnovX Innovators podcast. I'm Adrian, Seceleanu, your host, and today we are discussing with Kamil Sterna, CEO of Autosymed. Hello Kamil, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having us and hosting us here, as well as giving us some opportunities that I will speak about.
I'm really happy that we got to meet each other here offline in Bucharest. So let's start with the start. Who is Autosymed and what are you trying to do?
Autosymed is a startup we founded back in 2021. However, we did not take up any activities until 2022.
So during the pandemic?
Yes, it was exactly during the pandemic. Back in 2021, when we were starting, we didn't pick up the issue connected with COVID or any viruses fighting with among the outburst of the pandemics. However, our main topic that we took up was the coronary artery disease, which is the global biggest and number one issue from the medical perspective. And we've got millions and millions of patients that are affected, also in Romania.
Yes.
So our intention was to to develop a system that would go into the imaging recognition algorithms to use them in order to find, locate the stenosis, and then to help the doctors and alleviate the diagnosis and then the therapy, which at the beginning sounded a little bit awkward or crazy or maybe ambitious, because we met some of the doctors and cardiologists, especially the old-date ones, that told us it's impossible, that only a physician who is very experienced can tackle this problem. So we found some ambitious young doctors who we took into the project. And then we also used our experiences from, let's say, 15 years of implementing the telecommunication expert systems for the heart teams, so-called heart teams of cardiologists that are working in hospitals, and we were supporting and enhancing that system. However, it was the moment to take the next step and to use artificial intelligence to make the problem be addressed. This is also the problematic here is the issue globally is, as I said, number one, whereas COVID in the heights, it was around on the 20th place of casualties among patients. So it wasn't anywhere as close to being such a big problem as heart diseases recently and currently are and will be. We are expecting until 2035 to triple the number of patients due to the aging and demography changes in the developed countries. And this also applies to Romania and our region. So we won't have 3 times as many cardiologists, but the patients will be there and they will be coming. So it was obviously a good idea to automate the process of the diagnosis on the medical procedure, which is called coronarography. And we are using this coronarography images to find the lesions, to identify, to segment the structure, and then to propose the syntax score, which is a parameter recommended by European Society of Cardiology as the predicator of what the patient's life expectancy would be and what the surgical or non-surgical intervention should be happening on the heart. So it's basically a diagnosis. So
can I interrupt you a moment? I want to discuss a little bit your journey. What made you go on this path to address this huge problem that is very familiar also here in Romania? And did you have any? What was your experience?
Actually, yes, we actually felt Romania was a very good country. I wouldn't say it's a good feature or characteristic, because Romania has by far, I think, the second lowest number of cardiologists per 1,000 per the citizens, after I think Moldavia, and it was something that sooner or later would become a must and not just a nice to have or a system for some sort of a support. But eventually it would become the major system to do the diagnosis sooner or later. And Romania being also a country that is adopting some novelties and some systems more in a more open way than, for instance, the economies in the West, believe it or not. But in Germany we have much bigger problems to adapt new systems and new ways of working and thinking amongst the doctors. So it would come together as a fusion of factors that actually pointed that Romania was the best place to start, because the adaptability of such solution would be bigger due to the lack of physicians, of medical professionals.
Okay, but what made you address this specific part of imaging, those related to heart disease? Because we have seen a lot of startups addressing other areas.
Yes, it was actually indication from the doctors. They were missing this kind of software because it wasn't existing. Right now we can see that there are many startups and a lot of initiatives going in that way. But when we were starting, nobody heard about ChatGPT. We were already employing artificial intelligence against the current of what was, happening in the what was recommended by the doctors, as I said previously. But eventually, it was the biggest challenge that we could find, and the one that was not solved, and it was indicated by the doctors. So the problem statement was not by computer scientists or big data analysts or people like us. It was done by the doctors, and we have been involving them ever since in the project to actually build the system with us. So they are using it in their daily practices in hospitals.
Who is part of your team, and what kind of experience is bringing everyone to the project?
We have a multinational team, of course, including our Romanian colleagues. We are basically dispersed among a couple of European countries. And our team consists of the technical team, which is the IT, support, AI, and big data, plus, of course, our engineers, software engineers. And on the other side, we have doctors, physicians, radiologists, and interventional cardiosurgeons who are verifying the solution, and they are giving their input and training the system to become better and better as we go.
Which are your main challenges? I don't know much about this. I know it's a huge problem, as you said, everywhere in the world and also here in Romania, but I'm not sure if there are, specific problems versus, let's say, analyzing an image from the other parts of the body. So how are things, how complicated are things?
Yes, well, we are already after third year of the system development, but in order to make it work, we had to use our experience from 20 years back and our algorithms that we developed earlier for the purpose of the medical image discovery and identification. So most of the technical problems are behind us, hopefully. The new problems or new challenges in modules are being developed, but I will speak about it a little bit later. However, I think at this point, if we compare our situation, like the startups in Europe, to, for instance, US-based startups, the biggest problem is financing against the ideas or prototypes and then products that haven't met the market traction, and we are, I think, as many other startups, facing the financing shortage at the moment of the productization, I would call it, of the systems, when it needs to just go and meet the market and then be verified. And another thing is that what we are facing and we are finding as a problem from the governmental perspective, because we've been talking to a couple of European national health funds on the CEO level or the deputy level, and they have been always asking us for, first of all, certification of a medical device against an AI system that was recently developed, or we are going into, let's say, the product market landing. And this is of course impossible and very expensive, so it's kind of like a blockade against the existing solutions, which in this case are being maybe developed. And on the other side, we are also facing the necessity to acquire or get the data, which are the patient data, and they're covered by GDPR or some sort of regulations that actually in many hospitals are treated too strictly. Even if the data are anonymized, we are not able to use them because of claim that theoretically it's personal data, whereas the internal images of the organs are not personal data, because obviously you cannot see them from outside. You cannot identify anyone by an image of a heart. But it's still a problem for us.
So I was going to ask you about this pain of regulation in Europe, but you addressed it already. So another question is, how does your product work? What do you need? It's a software, it's a device, it's a cloud-based, what do you need in order to, what do doctors need in order to use it?
It's almost everything you said is true, except that it's not a device, it's a cloud-based system. Of course, we are talking right now to potential customers, the early adopters that probably would like to have on-prem version of this, also because they are big chains of hospitals. However, this software actually gets the images from the coronarography procedure. It's a medical procedure that is done, for instance, in Romania about 200,000 times per year, and globally around 13 million times, but it will grow to around, it's predicted to grow with 6% annually to 35 million in 2035. So the market will grow. Eventually this procedure will not disappear, and it is evolutionary based because the arteries do not clean themselves. So coming from this place, we are taking this image and then analyzing it and giving the doctor a result within a matter of let's say a minute, instead of a couple of hours sometimes, when the radiologist needs to go through this and then do the description. So we are cutting the time of the bureaucracy and the repetitive activities, and then providing advice to the doctor what needs to be done.
So how did you manage so far to get data to work with hospitals, with doctors? Are there any countries where things are going better? What can you
Let's say
share?
We bought the data. We bought the data from hospitals. We bought the data also in Ukraine, supporting some of their hospitals. So we were able to acquire the data and then to review those images. And
is it expensive?
That depends.
I'm curious. Really.
It is expensive. Actually, there are multiple companies that are trading the medical data. They are selling and acquiring them. And they are also there are also the data banks. Sometimes you see them on the conferences that some companies promise, good quality medical data to sell to potential customers. However, as we can see it right now, we've been in a couple of countries. After InnovX, our participation, we've been already invited to multiple countries as well. From this perspective and our other activities, we've been to countries like Iceland or Turkey, and we've been also seeing, or Norway, we've been also seeing that the countries outside of EU as well are aiming and going into the direction of keeping the data and storing the data for their own purposes. So the national health funds are building the data centers to store the data for future use. So it's like excavation and mining, and then we don't even know what we're going to do with this data, or maybe we already know, but some of them can be reworked and checked from different angles, because there are different diseases that we can analyze on top of this data, especially if it's contextual. So we have, some information about the patient, about the age, the gender, and the overall situation. Then we can combine all that together in the profile of a patient and see the result in form of a diagnosis from multiple angles.
Okay, and did you get any financing? You mentioned earlier it's a challenge.
Yes.
We hear this a lot from founders here in the region. So how was your journey in this aspect so far?
Well, we haven't been actually chasing private capital except of our own investments. We've won 3 grants from EA Norway grants, so part of the Norwegian subsidies. We have applied for a couple of grants already within the Romanian government and the Northeast region.
Okay.
And we're waiting for the decisions to come, because our plans are quite ambitious. So this is also for the development and some kind of innovative approach in building up new modules to this system. However, we can see that the productization, as I said, or the marketing and especially building up the sales is basically unfinanced. So it's either private capital when you need to share the shares, or it's or there's nothing. So you need a partner in the industry. And I think we're taking the second way to get the partners and to implement and develop the system with them.
How much have you invested until now in this project?
Well, basically I can summarize. We have received around 750,000 euros in grants, various grants from, as I said, Norway to Microsoft. And from our own capital, it was more than 250 around, I would say.
So a small round if we judge it by US standards, where things tend to be bigger and a lot of investors put a lot of money in this kind of projects.
Yeah, it's incomparable. I think we are. This is one of the reasons of our European low rankings in innovation, in technology advancements, and having fewer startups that are growing to be unicorns or multiple unicorns. And this is a serious issue that is not tackled, especially with our conservative approach towards investing, because a lot of capital has gone up to the United States, where they finance, let's say, 100 projects in order to get maybe 2 or 3, but already with a better turnover and return on investment.
There are some discussions on EU level to change the legislation, change the framework to help startups develop more rapidly and to cut the red tape and so on. Are you optimistic about this? Are you following this, or you are just...
Probably I haven't heard about this, but it's not that...
It's a sort of a EU startup initiative in order to help startups be created anywhere in the EU and less red tape and move around freely and so on. So
frankly, I think it's a great idea. Let's see how it looks in practice, because we get lots of potential, we get lots of ideas. We are working on a couple of other projects in the background, and definitely we will. We have the resources, we have the engineers, we have the people knowledge, and we get the business ideas to make it grow. What we are missing is capital.
Yeah. So how did you come up with this multi-city, multi-country approach? We talk with a lot of founders. It's not so common, let's say, in this region that you have a founder, let's say, in Romania who is going to Poland and also attract some Polish talent and so on. So how did you come up with this? How did you grow like this?
Yes, we have even people in Switzerland. So basically our idea was forced upon us during COVID. That's where we were starting. We wouldn't have met anyway. We wouldn't have been in the offices or in like...
I must say, in a way, COVID
was remote. It was remote already.
It was a great business startup start, a lot of people shared that they had time to think about it, and it was easier to talk to a lot of people.
Well, frankly, if you need an expert and this expert isn't in your region or in your city, then what do? You close the project or you look for the expert elsewhere, and that's what we did. That was the idea. In order to keep the company running and the project being developed, we just took the people from where they were and not forcing them to go somewhere and relocate.
So you said Switzerland, of obviously Poland and Romania?
Yes, and Romania.
Where? Right. From how many Romanians are involved?
We have right now 2.
Okay.
And
they are based where?
Here in Bucharest.
Okay, great.
And we have also a couple of people who are not on our FTEs. They're not employees, but they are helping us in various forms. And our plan, if we get the grants that we applied for last year, would be to grow the team by at least 5 people here in Bucharest or in Iași or wherever we find them. And especially that some of our future customers, the ones that would like to adopt the solution but first test it and put it through their teams, are also dispersed geographically. So we get, for instance, one of the partners that has a cardiology unit here in Bucharest and another one in Suceava. So we would have to also have some coordinator on spot to make this work. Some of our customers, a different group, is located in 5 countries, also in Turkey. So even if we look at the Polish team, we've got multiple nationalities there. We are also employing Turkish people in Poland already.
Okay. Now let's discuss a little bit your journey with InnovX. Of course, if we discuss at this point, you can look in the Financial Times rankings done with Statista, and you see InnovX was ranked #1 in the region. But before that, you didn't join now. So how did you hear about InnovX, and why have you decided to apply?
Well, that's great. Congratulations to you and the team. I know you've been working hard to get here. And as for our interactions, I think we have been also contributing to your success as one of the dozens or hundreds of companies that have been working with you on the programs. Our highlight and participation in the bootcamp was in 2023. So at the end of 2023, actually, we were the finalists. We were in the strict final. I think we ended up 4th. Not being a scale-up even, but the startup. So in our category, I think we ranked, we did the most we could. And additionally, the presence within InnovX helped us to, first of all, get some contacts, get some recognition, get to the people. And that was, I think, the biggest value. The fact that we were recognized and we could already directly shorten the path to the decision makers in the big companies, that we were adopted by like 5 companies, and we already had the gateway to export, even from Romania to countries like Japan. So this was eventually a great experience, and we eventually ended up being friends, which is something that, well, you cannot really denominate in currency or money. And we are back here. And that means that we still are growing, and with from other aspects and other ways of support from InnovX, we are seeing also a big potential to cooperate and get in line and help to grow together.
So you would say you'd recommend to other founders to join an accelerator and get the most out of it. It was a good experience, I understand.
Well, that depends on which level of advancement they are. If they can handle the 6-week bootcamp, if they have the idea which is mature enough, or they have the business that is growing, that already has customers, that's not an easy answer. It's not for everyone, but definitely if you want to achieve something, if you want success, then places like InnovX are the best, because it helps you to organize your project, it helps you to organize your team, your business, your strategy, your plan towards the future, and find the gaps and holes. Because sometimes the owners and founders are too optimistic, sometimes the idea comes too early to the market and it's not well perceived, even though it is brilliant, but it's adapted 10 years later, but the company is already gone. Or maybe it's too late. And seeing this and getting the verification from people without any pain, without actually hitting the market and being and not making it, is better at this moment, where you can still adapt and you can still change and amend some of the features and some of the functionalities of your product while it's reasonably cheap, than when you're in the market and it's too late to rearrange and redevelop your whole product, especially if it's certified or if it goes through some validation.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And as we approach the end of our discussion, of course, I want to discuss about the future. What can you share? Which are your plans? Which are the next steps that you are going to take?
Well, it's not a big secret. Our first and primary target right now is to land the solution in the market. So we are quite advanced with that. We are working with a company that has about 500 laboratories and medical centers across Europe, with over 20 million medical images done every year. So that's a very big database to put the AI algorithms onto. Of course, we need to get to there gradually. The other chain is a hospital chain with over 25,000 employees and a lot of cardiology units. So our targets are big, and we couldn't have gotten there earlier, because if you have a half-working system, you cannot really go to the experts and convince them that you are ready. So in our case, it was quite big, quite long time to develop the solution, to make it grow, to test it, other than just place it on the market and see how it goes. This is not this industry. So medical industry is quite difficult, and out of this we have also other plans, because we need to also get certified, which requires clinical testing, and this is one of our next targets. Plus, of course, engaging the LLM, so language models, into the description of the first diagnosis and then treatment, to alleviate the description of the medical procedure. So to give the doctor something like a ChatGPT for cardiologists, in this way that we won't have to convince them to use it, because people actually pay to use ChatGPT, and because they like it and they use it on daily basis. And this is what we want to achieve. We don't want to force the system and to say that you are being replaced by a robot, but we are giving you a companion, we are giving you an advisory system to support whatever you don't like doing, because it's bureaucratic overhead and you have to provide a long description. We will analyze, we will segment, we will identify, we will give you a 3D reconstruction of the image. All of that will come automatically, and then you'll just be able to use or maybe adapt it to your vision, because you know more about the patient than just is coming from the image itself.
What kind of partnership or I don't know, collaborator are you aiming for the most? You never know who's going to watch this, and maybe someone is going to think, okay, maybe I can help. So what kind of things? Financing, doctors, hospitals, data providers, what's on your list?
Well, our goal is actually to democratize the access to AI. So we could even imagine exposing the system into the accessibility from the outside, so that the physicians that are in the remote places where there are no specialists can upload their images, the medical images, and get the diagnosis online 24 hours. The system will not get tired, and it will not protest, so it will just basically work also for the remote physicians. It will give also benefits to the patients, but the people that we are really willing to meet and work with are coming both from the, let's say, governmental side. Let's not forget that there is a regulatory overhead, and people that are the decision makers sometimes are blocking such solutions. So we need at least that they, if they don't cooperate, so that they don't block such initiatives. And the fact that in order to democratize such solutions, and we're not only talking about medical imaging, but using the AI, of course, after verification, certification, and evidence-based checking if and how the system is working, that will bring us to the adoption of such systems in the public healthcare, because that is where they belong. And apart from that, of course, we've got the private Medicare, which is basically interested in higher efficiency, in better treatment of the patients, and they would like to, and they would prefer to use some sort of automation in some of the processes. They're already doing that. They're already doing that on the procedure or the prescription or the medical registration or reserving the visit by the doctor. But it is time to take the next step and to move onwards, because it will also be in the favor of the patients.
And my last question is obviously, can you share with us what's your dream? Where do you see Autosymed, let's say in 5 years or 10 years? Where do you want to take it?
Well, of course, I don't have a crystal ball here. I could ask artificial intelligence where it sees us, but eventually the market is big enough, the population of the patients is big enough that I think every sensible solution within this area, so AI imagining and analysis of medical images, so any such solution which is actually working will find its place in the market. So the only thing is how quickly it can scale up. So in, let's say, good conditions with a lot of luck and good constellation of the stars, we can get to a level of a unicorn quite quickly. But on the other hand, the competition and everyone that is working on those such systems is not sleeping. We are here, let's say, working against the producers of the C-arm devices, who are also trying to develop their own AI systems. And they have already global applicability and global market reach. So maybe it's not the David against Goliath, because we are not fighting. We all want to bring value here. However, many conditions still need to be met for us to get something that we can call a success.
Anyway, I wish you the best of luck, and thank you very much for your
discussion. Thank you very much.
And for all the information you shared, also your journey with InnovX. So thank you and best of luck, and looking forward to discuss again.
It was a pleasure, and we'll stay here with you.
So also thank you very much for joining us today to a new episode of the InnovX Innovators podcast. I'm Adrian Seceleanu, your host, and I'm looking forward to meet you again to a new episode. Bye bye until then.